Hi everyone, this is Warren from the Rhapsody Piano Studio. Welcome to today's live stream. We're going to be learning Fireside Reverie by Mier. This is from Romantic Impressions, Book 4. You can find links to the sheet music in the cards as well as the description below. Once you are done learning this piano lesson, if you want to test yourself out, make sure you go over to the tutorial to see if you really can remember the things I'm showing you here. Okay, so you want to think of these lessons as like an actual lesson. Okay, like a what do you call it? Like a study guide. And then if you go over to the tutorial, that is more or less like the test. Okay. All right. Hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving, aka turkey hangover today. So, um, before we start, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you want to catch whenever I go live as well. And also, keep up to date with my tutorials too. Yeah, this is Fireside Reverie. I'm going to show you how to practice this. This is for intermediate piano, by the way. Some technical stuff. What you have to be comfortable with is some wide stretches, jumping, leaping, okay, like moving up and down the keyboard, some arpeggio patterns, a little bit of scale work as well. That's basically it, okay? So yeah, it is intermediate, and I could say it's bordering on late intermediate. So I hope that helps you to figure out, what level you're supposed to be at. All right, Fireside Reverie. All right, so we're just gonna take the first 4 measures, and we do that because right now I am showing you the very smallest section you could practice. As we go on in the lesson, I'm going to do longer and longer sections as it becomes more clear and makes sense to you. And if it doesn't, you just need to go back or learn some other songs and pieces when you're doing this dividing stuff out, because when you divide it, you're able to figure out the form, and when you understand the form, practice is much more simple and a lot easier, okay? And we're just going to call this process small chunking. I'm just taking the smallest chunk. Then after that, we'll do another chunk, and then just put it together. You're gonna build longer and longer sections. It's pretty common sense stuff. All right, so from the beginning, now I'm just gonna play the left hand for you. All right, and when you're practicing this, it might be good to practice the motions from position to position as you're moving. So here, we go from C sharp to the D. So that's a big jump here potentially. Actually, E to D. All right, and next one is just on E, then to A. So we're going from A major, D major, E major, A major, back to D major. So I hope that helps you out. Okay, let's try it together now. Left hand, ready, go. Okay, and also some expressive stuff that you could try, making the music sound a lot more balanced, a lot more interesting and expressive, as I was saying. You can bring out that bass note a bit more. Yeah, but that's a little bit advanced in the beginning. If you go for that, it's gonna make it sound way more musical. Okay, here's the right hand. So that's obvious the melody, and whenever you play more than one note, usually you're gonna voice the note on top. Okay? Instead of here, that's kind of like thumb heavy. You're not really going to hear the melody, so you want to use good voicing as well. Okay? Anyway, let's try it together. There's going to be an eighth note rest on the first beat, so it's going to go like this: ready, go, rest. All right? Here we go. I'm going to say that minus the rest. Ready, go. All right, and we just try it back to both hands. Give it a listen. gonna slow it down. I'm probably playing a little too fast anyway. All right, let's try it together. Ready, go. Okay, so first part done. We're gonna keep going, see where the next part ends. So this is from measure 5. We're gonna stop it right there. I'll explain why we stop it there in a second, because it's kind of different, kind of weird places I'm stopping here, but anyway. So that was 5 to 7. All right, now I'm gonna show you right hand. Yeah, let me just try it together. Ready, go. Now the left hand. All right, together, ready, go. Back to both hands. Ready, go. Okay, moving on from measure 7. To 11, 7, 11, huh? Like a slushy. Okay, here we go. Just the right hand. Yeah, I might have played that wrong the first time. Okay, let's do 7 together. Ready, go. If you notice in measure 11, melody comes back. All right, here is the left hand. Okay, let's try it together. Ready, I guess one difficult part, if you look at measure 8, when you hit that, don't hit it, but when you get to that sharp, you gotta be extra careful because you're taking a thumb, which is notoriously difficult for a pianist to really get a lot of control over because it's just so thick and just, it's like the weirdest appendage we have on our hand, okay? So when you play with the, and then we're going to sharp as well, it's a little bit difficult. So really be careful when you're playing there, okay? All right, here we go. 7, ready, go. And then back to both hands. Alright, so obviously a 7 or 11, you hear that melody come back, so it's going to signal the end of this first major section. So I'm going to break down from the beginning. We had from the beginning to, where's the measure 5? You can consider that the first part of this section, so we can call it A1. Alright, now this melody comes back, but now it's further developed. I would just call it A2, and then that last section is A3, closing it out. So we have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's pretty typical, okay? And then these are just loose, like, labels I'm using here. All right, it's not like, if you talk to an academic person or whatever, it's like, that is not exactly the way you need to label it, but I don't care, so just label it whatever you want. I'm calling it A1, A2, A3. This whole entire section now is A, and we're going to play it right now, okay? So from the beginning, all the way to measure 11 now. Listen first. back, and we're just gonna do hand separate now. All right, right hand. And then also, I haven't talked about how many repetitions you should be doing each. I'm gonna explain that in a second. Here's the right hand from the beginning. Hey, what is up? Bold Caution Productions. Okay, that's an epic that's an epic YouTube handle. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's ways around that. Let's say over your experience level, how maybe I'm going a little bit too fast. Maybe you just want to, if you had this book, one great way to really level up is to work on difficult music, one that's over your level, but you don't have to do the entire song, right? Maybe just do like one page at a time. It's like short. And in regards to that as well, as improving a lot too, you can pick a lot of short technical exercises that are difficult as well. So it doesn't have to be these huge epic pieces. So maybe you just do 1 page a month. Like there's no problem with that. And then the next page, because you did 1 page, is a little bit easier. Maybe the next page takes you about like 2 weeks, and then so on and so on until you get to a point where you've gotten a lot better, and you can play this level of music. All right, that's a great comment. But yeah, let me know if I can help you out too. All right, here's right hand. We're gonna try it together. I'm going to count the rest. It's probably easier that way. So we'll go 1, 2, rest. All right, ready, go. 1, 2, rest. And you also might want to check out some of my easier piano lessons as well if you want something that's a little not as hard as this. Okay, left hand. Okay, together, ready, go. All right, back to both hands. Okay, try it together now. Did we do it together? All right, let's do it again. I don't know if we did it together or not. Ready, go. All right, moving on. Oh yeah, we need to talk about how many times you need to do this. There's this thing called spaced repetition. Look it up online. So instead of the traditional approach where you try for perfection, like 10 times in a row perfectly. The reason why people like practicing that way, because it gives you good short-term results. But if you want something over the longer term, don't go for perfection. Just get it good enough. Of course, you can't practice too sloppy. All right. So if your practicing is not really efficient in that manner, like it's not that clean, then you do have to kind of make that a priority. But once that is, you're pretty good at it, then you want to space out your attempts. So what I mean is, let's say you did this whole entire section, and you got it pretty good. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but it's pretty good. Then instead of just doing it over and over, just move on, do something else, and maybe 10 minutes later in session, come back to it. Or you can even wait 20 minutes. The rule is the easier it is, the longer you wait, the harder it is, the shorter time periods you're going to wait. This gives much longer, much better long-term results. So look it up online because I just don't really have enough time to explain it to you here. Spaced repetition. Okay, next part. Okay, so that's actually very similar to what we played in the beginning section. So this is where it can get confusing with a little bit of the labeling stuff, but just bear with me here. So this whole beginning section from the beginning to measure 11, we call this A. All right, I would actually just call this whole entire section A1. I know it's getting kind of confusing here because I said the beginning is A1, but you can label it completely different, like the middle sections. Let's just say it's the first third of this A1 section, second third. What I mean is from it's kind of weird, right? But I mean how we divided it up in the beginning into 3 different parts. So just call this whole part A1 because you're gonna call the next section that I just played from the pickup to 11 to about 17 to 19. All right, so we're gonna call this A2. So that's how you divide that up. All right. So hope that makes sense for you guys. All right, we're just gonna go back, and if I'm just gonna test you out here. We're gonna do longer sections, and if you're actually not able to keep up with me, then don't worry about it. You can use that spaced repetition thing as well, or you just might need to do shorter sections because it is a matter of concentration and paying attention as well. Like your concentration has to be there to do longer sections. It doesn't only have to do with the difficulty of the piece you're working on. Okay. All right. Here's the right hand. And you can also clearly hear it coming to an end there. All right, let's try it together from the pickup. This is measure 10. The pickup to measure 11, that is. Ready, go, rest. All right, sorry about that. Do that again that way, okay? Ready, go, rest. Okay, left hand. Let's take it from the pickup. And some jumps there that you might need to practice. If you don't know how to practice jumps, it's really this. Just think about playing it slow and moving fast, like so. Right? So you just do it that way until you shorten those gaps. It becomes easier and easier. Pretty much using muscle memory. Okay, the pickup to measure 11, left hand. Here we go. Ready, go. Back to both hands. Actually, let's take it from that C sharp on top right here. Okay, let me play first. it together. Measure 10, ready, go. Alright, and then the next section here, by the way, what I would do if you're learning this at home is then I would go back and put this whole entire A section together. So it's from the beginning all the way to measure 19. I'm not going to do it for you guys here because I want to keep this lesson as short as possible for you all. But that's what I would do. And that's an even bigger section. So you see how this whole chunking thing works. And it does take a bit of time in the beginning, all right? But what happens too is like once you build up these bigger sections, you have to have a little luck. And then if you get a little bit better as well, improvement, then these sections usually will be, the first time you do it, it's difficult, but then you do it over time, it gets easier to kind of maintain it at this, these longer sections, okay? All right, this is measure 19. Let me slow it down. Sorry, I'm gonna need to practice this a little bit. All right, sorry when it's not very good today. All right, here's just the right hand for measure 19. Actually, let me do it again. I'll take it a little bit slower. So I'll give you some small sections here too. But if it wasn't obvious what we're gonna label this is from the pickup to 19 actually. And I use 5, 4, 5. It's a little odd, but that's what I use. I guess you could do 4, 3, 5 as well. Hello, Charles. If I wasn't mistaken, I believe you're from the UK. Nice to see you again. So this section we're going to call B, all right? And what I played for you was basically, if my guesses are correct, because I haven't gone to the last page yet, we're going to call this section from measure 19, the pickup to 19 to the bottom of the page, we're going to call it B1, okay? This part is kind of difficult. Plus the fact I'm probably playing this too fast, but these are basically just arpeggios, okay? This is why you need to practice your arpeggios and scales. The most basic patterns show up everywhere. Right? Okay. But again, what I was saying at measure 21, you really don't want this too choppy, because you want the melody to come out. So it's difficult because you have to keep the legato on top while playing the thumb on the bottom. You hear I'm kind of holding that? This is very difficult to do if you haven't done this before. So very slowly, use this as short as possible. But you know, I'm not really trying to do a staccato, you know? So that's what you're going for, okay? All right, let's try it together. This is a pickup to 19. Right hand, ready, go. All right, left hand, measure 19. That's kind of difficult here because we have here's fine, but we're crossing over into a B sharp. In other words, you can just think of it as a C. Because, you know, if we're going from black key to lower key and we're crossing at the same time, it's kind of more distance to cover, and there's a bit of a dip there as well. Like, you have to be playing this to experience what I'm talking about. Keep going. Alright, so you're trying to avoid accenting this note. Yeah, I'm really not even like doing it that great at as well. But anyway, here we go. 19 to the bottom of the page. Ready, go. Alright, now back to both hands. Try it together now. We'll slow it down a bit. Ready, go. Yeah, and I'm probably taking it a bit too fast too. It's andante. I feel like I'm playing a little allegro right now. Anyways, this is B1. Go to the next part. I'm gonna take a guess from 23 to the. Well, actually, let me just play it. Yeah, I don't really know what I would label this because it's not exactly. Alright, we can put it this way. We could say that what I just played the previous page, let's just consider that might not be great, but I'm just going to call it like a transition type of section. So it's not exactly like a section on its own, but it's a bridge to connect it to the next part. So let's just call this a transition, and I might be kind of wrong about this label and stuff, but it's just off the top of my head what makes sense to me at the moment. Then we'll call 23 to where it says DSL coda at the bottom of the page. And if you don't know what DSL coda means, then I'll explain it in a bit. So we'll say that to the bottom of the page. We're just gonna call that the B section, okay? Yeah, hey Charles, without the music, this is definitely not something you want to play without the music. You can, but kudos to you for trying. This is, I think, very difficult to pull off without any music at all, right? But don't let that stop you. All right, here is just the right hand now, 23 to the bottom of the page where it says DS al coda. We're gonna call this entire section B. And then slow down. So a lot of arpeggios and scale patterns abound in this type of piece. Now, some voicing things. If we think about 23, you see this is a quarter note value. So that needs to be the melody. And then when you have the 16th notes here, you hear that's the melody as well. So you want to make sure these notes here are the inner voices. And then bring this out. Same thing here. Thank you, Charles. So you have to be careful with those parts in regards to voicing. I'm just curious, Charles, what kind of music are you playing these days? Kind of cool if I could figure out what level you are, and then if I can figure out what level you are, I can make you some suggestions on some of my lessons that you should check out. All right, all of it, huh? All right. All right, you're just right hand, 23 to the bottom where it says DS al coda. I wonder, do they celebrate Thanksgiving or something like that in the UK? I've always been curious about that. All right, right hand, ready, go. Harvest time, huh? That's really interesting. Now I know a little bit of the lingo. Maybe if I go there sometime, it's on my bucket list sometime to go to UK. I'll mention that. All right, harvest time. I'm gonna look that up. All right, left hand. One thing is when you get into the lower registers here, you're gonna have to play the notes a lot softer because the strings are a lot deeper down here. It's gonna be a lot of noise, not noise, I should say, volume. So you gotta be very careful. Left hand, what I would do is, it's very practical, right? But just do a lot more left hand practice. In fact, you can make it a ratio, and I always make it a point to do this with parts where I have to practice the left hand more. I will usually practice my left hand 2 to 3 times more than right hand. So actually, you might not really have a problem with your left hand. It's just like me, you're right-handed. So, unfortunately, I don't think it really changes for pianos over time. You just have to practice your left hand more. Yeah. I actually take it a step further, and I have like this book of charity technical exercises I do purely for the left hand alone. But some practical advice: find a lot of just left hand technical exercises, or just practice the left hand a lot more. Especially arpeggios and scales. Yeah. So if you agree, I really don't think you have a problem. Just need to practice it a lot more. Right. I wish it weren't the case, but by the way, it's the same thing for left-handed pianists. Their right hands are always weaker as well. All right. Let's try it together. 23. Ready, go. All right, before I play this last part for you two, and after that we only have these last 4 measures at the bottom where it says coda. I'll explain that in a second too. If you've enjoyed this lesson so far, I really would appreciate if you hit that like button. And then if you find this valuable enough to share with other people, go ahead and share this video as well, of course, after the lesson is over. And then make sure you stick around for the recap at the end. I'll just try to quickly go over the most important concepts we learned today. All right, 23, both hands, listen. Okay, together, let's take it a lot slower. Ready, go. Alright, now dies al coda means you just go back to the beginning, or it could be near the beginning, it could just even be in the middle, but this is not really a longer piece. So you basically, if you look at the first page, you see at the top, at measure 3, there's a little sign on top. It's like a little symbol. So I believe the proper pronunciation is dies al coda, it's like del segno al coda. So just basically look for a sign, segno, like symbol, okay? It's like a weird snake looking thing, I guess. And then you just go straight there, and you continue on until you see at measure 16 it says to coda. You flip back to the last page. At the bottom is coda, little compass sign. And then if this failed for you, if this explanation failed for you, just go ahead and watch the tutorial. It'll make sense, okay? All right, and then we have the coda, which is the last part. This is just the end. So we're just gonna work on the last 4 measures, and that'll be it for today's lesson. Stick around for the recap. All right. This might be off camera here. It's just an A on top, okay? Okay, so let's just do this last part, both hands together. Ready, go. Sometimes these keys don't want to come out. Must be the turkey. All right. Okay, so that's it for today's lesson. Quick recap. Some of the most important concepts you learned today. A couple of them are chunking, small chunking. Thank you very much, Charles. Thanks so much for all the lovely comments. Okay. So the small chunking, just basically learning to divide it into different sections, and then this is where knowledge of form would come in handy. So if you start to do a little bit more formal analysis, like on form, that helps a lot too. Because usually the pop music isn't going to help you with this type of music, because it's just a lot more complex in terms of form than pop music, hip hop, all that stuff, okay? Mainstream stuff. So the beginning section, we had from the beginning all the way to measure 11. We call that A1. And then you divide this section into 3 parts. So the first part is from the beginning to measure 5, 5 to measure 7, then 7 to 11, okay? And this whole section is called A1. Now, if you take it from the pickup to measure 11 to all the way to measure 19, we're gonna call this A2 section. Yeah. Yes, you do have the rest of the day to practice, huh? That's cool. Huh, man, I would love an entire day to practice. That would be like a dream for me. All right, so we're gonna call this whole A1. And then from measure 17 to 23, just because I can't think of a better term, not 17, 19 to 23, we're just gonna call that like a transition, a transitory section, okay? Then 23 to the bottom, where it says DSL coda, we're gonna call it B. And then the coda is just the N, all right? So those are the, A, section A, transition, B, coda. Coda is just 4 measures, but I'll just call it a section, all right? So basically just 4 different sections to practice, okay? The second most important concept that we learned today is spaced repetition. So instead of just doing it like a million times in a row, trying to get it perfect, which is a short-term strategy, I'm not saying it's not wrong that it's wrong to practice that way, because if you have a gig coming up, you kind of have to do that approach, okay? Like, if you get the music on Monday and then you have like a performance on Friday or something like that, I hope that never happens to you, but you know, it happens sometimes with professional pianists, then you kind of have to do that. Yeah, I have to practice it over and over again, but that's a short-term strategy. What I'm teaching you here is longer-term strategy. So basically, just do it enough times. There's really no magic number, just whatever you want to come up with. Don't get it perfect by any means, and just enough where you feel like it's kind of coming together, and then just move on to something else. And then depending on how difficult it was, you're gonna work 10 minutes or 10 minutes if you're just like a shorter amount of time if it's harder. And then if it was kind of easier, then you can wait a little bit longer. You have to experiment to find the right types of time periods to wait. So you might have to do 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Eventually you'll figure it out. But if you want a software that helps you with this, it's called Anki. Anki, A-N-K-I. They use it for language, but I use it for my practice. It helps a lot. Okay, a spaced repetition. Look it up online. I would love to do like a whole entire live stream on it one time for other nerds like me. But yeah, so those are the 2 most important concepts. All right. Anyways, thank you guys so much for checking out this video today. I really appreciate your time, and shout out to my England buddy, UK buddy, Charles Goldsmith. Thanks for watching today, man. Hope to see you guys on future live streams. Thank you, Bold Caution Productions as well. Sounds very professional. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, enjoyed this lesson. I'll see you guys for the next lesson, and then I guess to everyone in the UK, hope you guys had a great what do you call it? The harvest time. Yeah, happy harvest time. Okay. All right, bye guys. I'll see you guys next time. Happy practicing.